Some Republicans are shunning the partisan press after years of abuse, but now the liberal media is begging them to come talk. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is calling out The View after the liberal ladies asked him to come on the show. DeSantis' team responding to the request with a list of direct personal attacks from the woke host. Here are some examples.
You're just short of calling him a negligent, homicidal sociopath, because that's what he is. He's risking the lives of children, children's parents, their grandparents, anyone they may come in contact with, so that he could appeal to his white supremacist base.
DeSantis. I think he's a fascist and a bigot. It's anti-black, it's anti-gay, it's anti-LGBTQ+.
It's anti-American.
It started with CRT. So if you start coming after black people, what comes next, right? Of course, the LGBTQ+ community, and then women, and then other marginalized groups.
Other Republicans are ditching the mainstream media ahead of the midterms as well. And of course, outlets like Politico are mocking them as pouty and claiming that they're making a big mistake. DeSantis says niet to The View, Greg.
You know, this is a point that we make a lot. Demonization eliminates dialogue. If you're going to say somebody is evil, then that means you can never talk to them. And you just compare what you just saw there to what we did in the A block. None of us agree with AOC, but we actually were talking seriously about her. We don't believe it's an important distinction. The right believes the left is wrong, but the left believes the right is evil. And this is an old Krauthammer line. And I think this is always a problem. And then they go like, why would you come on the show? Because you actually say I'm worse than Hitler. Also, they're miserable. You want to go, like, if you come in and you go do Fox, you have a good time. The people are nice. The people are fun. When Harold or Jessica gets destroyed by me on the show, we still have so much fun in the break. We
have fun at dinner, too.
Yeah, we have fun at dinner. We get a little loaded. You never know what happens after that. But then you go, let's say you're at the airport and you're forced to watch MSNBC or CNN. It's like you wonder who died, and it's their ratings. So I think the problem with legacy media is that they're still in their shell. And when someone outside their shell joins them, it creates meltdowns. And it's very personal. It's very personal to them on The View when they run into something. But here, it's never unpleasant because we don't take it personally. That's the difference between Republicans and hard left people.
Yeah, Jessica has let me play with and hold her child.
Yeah.
And she's like no, you would never. Jesse, I haven't even met the kid yet. Yeah. Katie.
Want to babysit tonight?
Yeah.
DeSantis is smart. And the reason why he's been so successful at promoting his policies is because he doesn't take the bait on offers like this. So The View is not interested in having a real serious conversation about what he's been doing in Florida. They know he may be a 2024 presidential candidate. That's probably why they're trying to get him on early. But if they really believe the things that they said about him, you know, he's a homicidal sociopath, a fascist, and a bigot, why would you then give him a platform to continue saying those things? DeSantis and his team know that they're trying to use him for gain, and they're not playing this game anymore. Republicans across the board aren't playing the game anymore. They're understanding that, 96% of the press identifies as leftist or liberal, and that it's time to, give them a fair shot. And if that means ignoring these media outlets that they don't need to get their message out, then they can go around that. It's a shame for the people watching, but all they're asking for is a little bit of fairness, and maybe eventually down the road, it doesn't have to be forever, doesn't have to reject the invitations forever, but maybe just a little reminder about how to have a decent, civil conversation about serious issues based on the facts, which The View tends to not be interested in pursuing.
If say, Jesse, DeSantis went on The View, he's also subjecting his supporters to the shrillacious torture that you have to listen to, the oral torture of the women on The View.
So if he did do The View, it would be hard for him to get a word in because you'd have these women just yelling and screaming at him the whole time, and I don't know what the upside would be for him. Right now, the mainstream media needs Republicans on the shows because their shows are boring and no one's watching the shows. So all of a sudden you need us to come on your shows to make your shows interesting so you guys could get a good rating. Sorry, you called me a murderer during COVID. You called me a traitor during the Russia hoax. And 7 days of the week, you call me racist. And you're working with political prosecutors to put me in prison. Would any of us do well in prison? No. Have you seen these Republican senators, these politicians? They wouldn't last a single day. Absolutely not. They are working in tandem with the Democratic Party, so I'm not going to be your tackling dummy for a rating. And they're not doing political journalism. Dagan, if we had a source that presented a great scoop that might bring down a Democrat and might affect a political campaign, and you hand it to them, tied it up in a nice bow, the networks wouldn't even look at it. They would suppress that story. So they're not actually doing journalism, they're doing partisan propaganda. Fox now is such a huge platform, and if you add the internet and the podcast and the radio to it, you don't need to do these other networks. You don't need to answer anything from these guys, because you know what the agenda is. You get a much bigger audience with the way things are here.
Harold?
I differ. I think it's
He was
short-sighted.
taking notes. Look out.
No. I take a lot of notes. I think it's short-sighted and little-minded of politicians to not want to go and stand in the proverbial political kitchen and take any heat. If the things that they've said about him, which they've been egregious things, just the montage of clips we showed demonstrates that. I know if someone called me a fascist and a racist and an anti-Semite, I'd want to go on that show and say I'm not. I'd want to go on that show and have those questions asked of me. And
I don't
be
want
able
the line out there on television, I'm not a racist. Well, I just gave it to him. But you know what I mean.
No, I understand, but it's being said. But I don't think that's all they would be asking. But whatever they'd ask, I would just say, I think this is a pathetic example of what politics has become. Here's what I'm trying to do. The country wants leaders who unite. They want leaders who can listen to each side and express themselves. And if the other side is outrageous in that conversation, let the country be the judge of that. So I don't know Ron DeSantis. I've read about him. I've heard about him. He's got an impressive resume. But this is a mark against him in my book. If you can't take the tough questions from The View, you probably shouldn't be president.
You got to have standards and do classy shows, not The View.
He can do prime time, but you can do.
I'm not talking about prime time. I mean, do Meet the Press, do a Sunday morning talk show.
Yeah, you were.
If DeSantis wants to come on, we're happy to have him.
You want a final word?
No,
you
I'm
look
good.
pensive. Okay.
No, I'm good. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to eat.
Ribs, Greg.
I had ribs last night. I had a brisket for lunch.
Succulent.
Yeah.
My expressions made you think about what you were going to eat.
No, it's 5:30. This is when I start thinking. My stomach is growling.
We can hear it.
I can hear it, yeah. Succulent, not The View.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.